Welcome back. Tom Hartman here with you. Very, very interesting policy debate going on right now in Washington, D.C., or in some states, actually, I think, as well. The country's highway trust fund, which is principally paid for with money that, the gas tax, is running low. And the reason it's running low is because when it was put into place way back in the day, it was set at a specific amount rather than as a percentage of the cost of gas. So as the price of gas has gone up, the gas tax hasn't gone up. And on top of that, and you've got an entire Republican Party that refuses to vote for tax increases, and most Democrats don't want to either. I mean, who wants to be the guy who raised the cost of gas, or the girl? And number one. And number two, that cars are getting more efficient. Cars are using less gasoline. And so as cars use less gasoline, there's less money in gas taxes. So, the gas companies make up for that by raising prices. They sell less gas, but they make more money. But in terms of tax revenue that maintains highways, it ain't there. So one of the brilliant solutions that has been proposed that gets lawmakers out of having to say, gee, let's raise gas taxes, or let's even peg them to the cost of gasoline. So as gas goes up, gas taxes go up. One of the solutions that they've come up with is let's put a little black box in your car that detects how many miles you drive every month and then just basically sends you a bill for the damage you're causing to the highway. And some people say, well, this could be calibrated so that your 6,000-pound SUV pays a higher tax rate than your 2,000-pound Toyota Prius. And others are saying, oh, no, it should be the same for everybody, mostly people who own 6,000-pound SUVs. And Adrian Moore, and this is bringing about an interesting coalition from the Tea Party and the Libertarians like Adrian to progressives like me. He's the vice president of the Policy Reason Foundation, co-author of Mobility First, A New Vision of Transportation in a Globally Competitive 21st Century, the website for the Reason Foundation, of course, reason.org. Adrian, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Tom. Great to be on.
Thank you. Did I summarize this situation well, or would you like to add something or even refute or dispute anything I just said?
It's a pretty good summary. I would tweak a couple of things. One was just something that you didn't mention. Most people don't know that there is a federal gas tax that pays for about a third of all of transportation spending, and the rest of it comes from state and local taxes, mostly state gas taxes. The average person pays, give or take, $180 a year in gasoline taxes, so it's not remotely the biggest tax we pay. And, what's been happening is we're all driving more or as much as we ever did in most cases, but because our vehicles are getting more fuel efficient, we're paying less, but the roads aren't getting any cheaper to provide. And so the idea of charging by the mile has come about. Now, the idea of doing it with a black box has never been popular with anybody. Nobody wants to be tracked, to speak of. And so the states that have experimented with this have not done black boxes. What they've done is given people a choice of a range of technologies, starting with really low-tech stuff like just having your odometer read, where there's no data really to speak of.
Right, and you would do that presumably every year when you do your safety inspection to get your sticker.
Do your safety inspection or your smog inspection if you're in one of those places or whatever it is.
Right.
You might have something where your onboard computer on your car can actually be, with just a little add-on chip, basically keep track of how many miles you drive and can then broadcast just that number to, say, the gasoline pump or whatever you want to set it up as, but it can just say, this guy drove this many miles and owes this much this month. Right. So you could pay more often that way, and that way the data only lives in your car; it doesn't get broadcast anywhere. And then there's the more intrusive GPS style idea or cellular idea where your car actually kind of is tracked, but
right.
That's not a very popular
And there's two other things we haven't mentioned. One is the people who drive electric cars like the Nissan Leaf or mostly electric cars like the Chevy Volt may end up paying no gas taxes at all, yet they're still using the roads.
Exactly.
And what's fair about that? This seems like there's a problem there. And the second is that one of the major ways that a lot of municipalities and states recover the cost of highway maintenance is with tolls.
Right. I mean, tolling is a small percentage. It's less than 10% of all of the revenue.
Right.
But it has been increasingly important for building new roads. More new roads that have been built in the last 10 years have been tolled than any time in
right.
recent history. So there is some tolling out there, but the big gaps here really are, it's really urban areas. We're not missing major interstates across the country. We're not missing major links between states in most cases. Mostly what we have are problems funding urban area transportation. But I'm talking urban areas all the way down to like 150,000, not necessarily just huge cities. And being able to have a sustainable mechanism where the money isn't declining year after year is important. But on the other hand, we've got to get better at using the money we've already got. I mean, nobody wants to increase gas taxes because nobody wants to be the guy or a girl that increases taxes. But like everywhere else, one of the things we should be doing before we even talk about raising taxes is figure out, is all the money being used as well as it could be?
I'll tell you, Adrian, Louise and I moved here.
Not the most efficient agency in government.
Yeah, Louise and I moved here to D.C. 3 years ago, and for the first time since I was 16 years old, I don't have a car. We sold our Honda Prius or Toyota Prius, I guess it is, when we left Portland, and I use the Metro almost exclusively. Occasionally, if I've got to go someplace Metro just can't get to, I will either take a cab or I'll take Uber. But the Metro in this town is incredible. And when I'm in New York City, I always use the subway. I forget what they call the transit system in New York City. And is that also the Metro?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we? And I've used the train in Boston as well. It's not as good and it's not as complete as DC or New York, but it's pretty good. And L.A. used to have, back before the conspiracy, between General Motors and what was it, Firestone, I think it was. They offered to run all the public transportation systems, and they ripped up all the rails. Los Angeles used to have the best public transportation system in the country in the 1920s. But it's like, isn't that probably the best solution is get people out of single-person cars? It seems silly to move 6,000 pounds of steel around to get 35 blocks.
Right. Well, we've never. That's what we've been trying to do for 30 years, and we're kind of spinning our wheels, if I can make a pun, on that.
But we haven't been. There's been no significant funding.
For 20 years now, in our major metro areas of the United States, somewhere between 25 and 50%, depending on the metro area, of all transportation spending in those cities for 2 decades has been on public transit, and the percentage of people who ride transit in all of those cities is flat.
Right.
So even spending 30-40% of the money, say in Los Angeles, we've spent around 35% of all the money for 2 decades on public transit. And
they've been building that out like crazy in LA. That's been very expensive. 2%
of the people are using it. Now in DC, you're talking about 7-8% of the people using transit. It's a more significant percentage, but still, it's 7 or 8%.
Right. So what's the libertarian solution? We're just about out of time here.
I think smart transit is part of every urban area, and the most cost-effective investments in transit are crucial. But most people still choose to travel by cars, and fortunately, cars are getting cleaner and more efficient. So we just need to provide that infrastructure, and people need to pay for it directly. I like mileage-based fees because it's a user fee. It's direct. People know what they pay and know what they get.
Right.
Whereas with the gas tax right now, nobody knows what they pay, and they don't really know where the money's going.
Yeah. The advantage of a gas tax is that it discourages the use of carbon. But the disadvantage, as I pointed out earlier, is that electric cars are using the roads, but they're not helping to pay for their maintenance. So I think maybe a hybrid of the two. Anyhow, it's an interesting conversation. Adrian Moore, thanks for dropping by, Doc.